Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Kelly Lewis. I'm with Lewis Strategic. Thank you all for coming out on this busy day. Very pleased to be in Gettysburg. Like I said earlier, this morning we were down in Hanover. I had a couple childhood anecdotes to say, but Gettysburg is a plethora in our family. We made the annual pilgrimage like so many other American families with my grandmother when she was alive to come down, and she pointed us out every single visit where our great-great-grandfather served in the Pennsylvania Volunteer Regiment that he served in from the Slate Belt area. So I know Barlow's Knoll, I know where the Pennsylvania Monument is, I know where his name is, and my children have seen it every summer, and I've seen East Cemetery and had lots of picnics over there. So very pleased to be back in Gettysburg. I'll be back again for a soccer tournament, the Battlefield Tournament, is that one of the Battleground Tournament? But we come back every summer for a tournament at one of the local schools, and it's always a great time to be back in Gettysburg. We've got a great update for you this afternoon. We got an update from UFD. We have an update for Big Wireless with the vast engineering work that we've done in Adams County. And before we get started, I want to give Commissioner Qualley a chance to say hello and thank Commissioner Martin for coming out today. Commissioner Qualley.
Hello. Thank you, Marty. As Kelly shows, everyone has a Gettysburg story of one sort or the other. And today it's all about a new kind of technology, an old kind of technology for most of us, but one that we're really pushing for. And to compare it back to Gettysburg, technology does matter. Just ask the South when they got here. And they couldn't produce enough shoes, enough ammunition, enough anything compared to the South, the North, who had that technological advantage. It mattered significantly to them. So I want to just thank you all for coming out. We met here a few months ago to start getting the surveys rolling out and get to see what businesses were interested. And apparently we've done very well with our surveys. We have a lot of technology action plans in people's hands now. I want to thank a couple people, Jim Martin for showing up as well. This has been a priority of this Board of Commissioners since we took office about 5 years ago. We have a lot of local businesses, large and small here. But I also want to draw some attention to Judy Chambers quietly sitting in the corner. Adams County is a bit of a strange entity sometimes. When you start thinking, gigabit, broadband, all this technology things, the last thing you think about is farmers and Penn State Extension. And yet our Extension office, which is going to be celebrating its 100th year very soon, is really kind of evolving that educational model. And they're looking at the community and saying, here's what the community needs, not just the farming community. So between Penn State Extension and our chamber and Destination Gettysburg and the Economic Development Corporation, we had so many organizations working on this. And what we're learning is that no one organization is going to solve this problem. This is a challenge that we all have to face together. I think the number of people we have out today is good proof that we are meeting that challenge head on. I'm excited to hear what the results were. I will be honest, I will take our results and give it to our director of IT and have him tell me what it all means. But from my perspective as a commissioner, seeing this much community support is a big deal. We are really pushing this issue out there, and hopefully we're going to see some solid results in the years to come. So thank you, Kelly, and I'll let you get on with your show.
Commissioner, thank you. No other county has the leadership at the commissioner level like Adams County, bar none. And literally had an exception report going to make sure we got as many organizations from Adams County into the technology action plan work that we did so that our engineering work was more robust. And as you'll see when John gives his update, it's a very robust engineering report for Adams County. So let me double back for some organizations that are just getting here for the first time today. We started moving exponentially fast in November. We built our team, and our team is some of the great broadband experts across the state of Pennsylvania that have been doing this work for 12, 15 years. Some of the very first broadband outreach and aggregation projects were done by Delaker Strategies. Tim Frank, raise your hand. Kevin Delker is a national leader in broadband aggregation. He's done some of the biggest aggregation projects in America. They just got off an amazing project they did for New Jersey with all their school districts, and they dropped broadband prices 88% and increased the speeds through the roof. So they got a great track record. They've done most of the intermediate units in Pennsylvania. And in our report today, you're going to see the impact that their work was in the educational market in K through 12. A significant difference between what our K through 12 education institutions get for broadband and what they pay. I think it was $1.72 per megabit per second versus everyone else. The companies, the colleges, the hospitals are paying much more, around $9 a megabit per second. So a very significant difference on what Delker Strategies has brought to the table the last 12 years across the state. Bernadette, raise your hand. Bernadette's been putting this whole thing together from UFD, United Fiber and Data. A nice round of applause for Bernadette. We're on a 3-hour tour, but it's been 3 hours for 5 days now. We've done 7 meetings in 5 days. We started in Doylestown in Bucks County. We came west in motor vehicles, not in wagons, but we came west and passed through Daniel Boone territory to Pottstown, and then we came to Berks County, and we were in Lancaster yesterday, and this morning we were in Hanover. And tomorrow we'll be back at the mothership area in York, Pennsylvania, where UFD is based. And Heather's going to give us an update. Heather Grip is the project manager for the entire Pennsylvania Gigabit Revolution. So a nice round of applause for Heather. So before I introduce Heather, the UFD team and YRK put together this very nice brochure. There's some in the back for the viewers on TV. This is at www.gigabitrev.org. You can download a great copy. In this is just a sampling of the amazing companies, the amazing school projects and universities and everyone else between in the 6-county region. Just a sampling. Like I mentioned, we started on Monday at the Pennsylvania Biotechnology Center. Unbelievable work being conducted there. They discovered the cure for hepatitis C in that center. And it's a cure, it's expensive. It's one of those great specialty medications, but it's the cure, and in 6 months, 100% cure from hepatitis C. They're working on other cures. We're excited to be a part of that organization with our project. Also, for participating organizations, we put together a technology action plan. You can pick yours up when you leave today. If your organization did not get one, you didn't request one, we will gladly prepare one for you. You have to reach out to me or talk to Bernadette, and we'll get the brief information that we need from you to get started. Big Wireless is our other partner. Jen Dangro right here is their marketing director, VP. She's doing all the marketing for Big Wireless. And you're going to hear from John Dolmich on the engineering studies. Inside the technology action plan, we wrote a little bit of an update on all the different about the organizations. We have an executive summary and description. We've got some different resources available in Adams County. And the reason being is these technology action plans all roll up into the county plan. The 6 county plans are going to roll up into the DCED report we provide to the state so that state leaders can take a look at this and see what they can do to add value on top of our work. So we're really excited to be meeting with DCED in May to give them an overall report on our project. At the end of these is incredible work. Hundreds and hundreds of hours went into the engineering studies, and they're all down to the organization. Every single organization, large or small, has very detailed engineering studies on where the closest poles are to their facilities, the different providers that are near their facilities, and most importantly, where other organizations are located vis-a-vis their location, their neighbors. Because in broadband aggregation, for our work, it's important to see who's along the same road, who's in the same town or township, and how clustered are they, and John's going to tell you why that's important. We also did an RFP. All the participating organizations rolled up into a request for proposal. And why we do that is we let all the different broadband carriers in the state of Pennsylvania, we give them an opportunity to make presentations and proposals to you. They have great ideas. They've got millions of dollars invested into each county that they do business in. We want to give them an opportunity to come back and give proposals to you. You can say, that's great. It's very great reading. We like the fact that you gave us a proposal, but you don't have to say yes. It's all voluntary on your side. You may get one proposal. You may get 24 proposals. It's a record for us, but of the 200, and I think we're up to 210 participating organizations to get a technology action plan, we had 24 broadband providers ask for the RFP. That's a record. Normally we get 12, maybe 14 organizations that are interested in providing a bid. We'll get them back on April 29th. Delacour Strategies is going to review them, summarize them, and give that format back to you so that you can take a look at what was provided for your organization. Then we're going to come back in May, and June, and July, and help explain to you what the RFP results mean to your organization and to Adams County. We're excited because the work that you did by getting everybody involved in the project has so many participating organizations that we believe that you're going to get some great RFP results in Adams County. So we're excited to get them back on April 29th. The other thing that we're very excited about in this project is not only did we do outreach and aggregation and have an RFP, but our mothership here is United Fiber and Data. They are making a multi-million-dollar investment into Pennsylvania. They've already done so much work of crossing the Hudson from New York City to get into New Jersey. In the broadband world, that's like crossing the Rubicon. But they're in New Jersey, they're moving west to Pennsylvania, and we're very excited to give Heather Grip an opportunity to give an update on United Fiber and Data. Heather.
Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to start by asking for a show of hands. Who doesn't know what UFD or the gigabit revolution is? Because I know that some people this might be their first meeting. Everybody, pretty much. Okay, well, I'll start with UFD. UFD is a locally owned CLEC. We are headquartered in York, Pennsylvania. We're building a 400-mile fiber line from New York City to Ashburn, Virginia. We currently have 24 miles complete, arraying around New York City. We will be done by the end of 2016. We're estimating the beginning of the fourth quarter, but say the end to be safe. The exciting milestones for UFD that I have to update you on are we crossed the Hudson in February, which if you know anything about broadband, like Kelly said, crossing the Hudson is a huge deal. So we're out of New York City and into New Jersey, and that's great for our company. It means a lot. We have active engineering crews in Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New Jersey right now, which is great. So we are working on finishing the make-ready and engineering for doing our aerial fiber. It'll be underground in some places. And then the gigabit revolution, for anyone who doesn't know, is a part of a grant funded by the state of Pennsylvania, the Department of Community and Economic Development. We are doing a feasibility and engineering study in these 6 communities in Pennsylvania to see how these communities would benefit from gigabit per second internet, meaning that we are trying to understand what would happen if we built off-ramps off of our fiber backbone into each of these communities and how it would benefit and if the communities are ready for that. So in our study, we did some surveys. We surveyed we had 600 respondents among the 6 communities, and we found that 60% of people had no knowledge of what gigabit per second internet was. That's over half of the people surveyed. So that tells us that we have a lot more work to do in bridging the digital divide and digital inclusion and teaching people about what gigabit per second internet is and what benefits it has to everyone, communities, businesses, anything. We also found that 87% of people in our 6 communities have access to internet. That sounds like a great number until you think about how many times today alone you have used the internet. And I can tell you that personally, getting from York to Gettysburg, I use the internet the entire way on my phone. And I've used it several other times, sending emails, doing all sorts of other things. So 13% of people do not have access to the internet. And that's a big number, and we need to start working to lower that. And it's actually lower than, well, higher. The 13% is higher than the national average. So the national average is 89% of people that have access to the internet. This is a map of all of the gigabit cities in the United States, and you'll notice that there's only 1 in Pennsylvania and none on the eastern seaboard. So we're really hoping to make these first 6 communities in Pennsylvania the first ones along, well, not right along the eastern seaboard, but in the eastern part of the state. There's even one in Alaska. So I gave you some updates on United Fiber and Data, and I told you about the surveys. What we would ask of you now is to please keep the conversation going. Like us on social media, seek out for the website, keep yourself involved. Give us, myself, Bernadette, all of your information. Contact Kelly. If you haven't signed up for a technology action plan, please contact Kelly to do so. It's really important that we keep the conversation going, that we keep talking about this so that we can make sure that it happens for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Heather, thank you very much. And to UFD, thank you very much for investing in Pennsylvania. We very much appreciate the millions of dollars that you're investing into our state at a time when global competition is increasing at an exponential pace. So what is a gigabit? A gigabit is 1,000 megabits. What's a megabit? A megabit is 1,000 kilobits. Did I get that right?
Yes. Close enough.
My era remembers 56K. The first modems were the internet when people were trying to get that out of the gate, 56K. And then I remember we jumped for joy when we got 1 megabit, MB, into the home. And now things are exploding and people are talking about gigabit speeds. So right now in America, there's a race. Right now in the world, there's a race on getting gigabit speeds to the home and to businesses. And in Pennsylvania, we're just jump-starting it to catch up quick because other regions across the country, as Heather pointed out, already have gigabit to the home, gigabit to the business. The big race now is not only gigabit, because in Adams County, you can get a gigabit in Gettysburg. The question is it $100 a month or less? A gigabit for $100 a month or less. 100 gig, $100 gig are the buzzwords going around America, and right now there's at least 16 regions in America that have $100 gig. $870 a year for a gigabit connection in 16 cities. John's going to give you an update on what that means to our state, what it means to Adams County. Bernadette did an effort that I wanted to point out. She had a presentation on a Saturday called Tech Girls. In our state, in America, we need to get more women in technology. We need to get more men in technology. As these gigabit speeds come through Pennsylvania, we already have a shortage of tech workers in the state. And we need your schools and your higher education or places like Hack and Gettysburg College to turn out more technology workers, or in industries, more medical professionals, engineers that are technology savvy. Every industry has technology in it. And every industry is racing to get gigabit speeds. They're moving their companies to where gigabit is affordable. young people are moving to where gigabit is affordable because that's where the jobs are being created. Our goal, one of our goals here, is to let Adams County get some options to get gigabit speeds for their companies, gigabit speeds to your home so that you can work from home, your companies can keep your young people here and get those jobs that are being created in the other gigabit cities around the country. I wanted to give John Dolmich an opportunity to give his engineering update. John's with Big Wireless. Like I mentioned before, his organization has put in many more hours than was expected of them. They're passionate about this project, and I'm really pleased to introduce John Dolmich.
I'm just going to switch presentations and I'll be right with you, folks. Okay, so before I really get into the whole presentation, as Kelly said, my name's John Dolmich. I'm actually the president and one of the founders of Big Wireless, and we're based in York, Pennsylvania. And I told the Hanover group today that we've done all these communities so far, and we started actually out in the east, and we've been working our way back here. And by the way, I mean I'm kind of like the ringleader of this project. So basically, I put together the team, and when the project was brought to me, I got really excited about it, and I looked at it because I'm kind of selfish. We are a tech company. We have about 100 people, and I have a serious problem finding technology workers in this area. Very serious problem, and it should be really important to you folks too, because the last 12 positions that I've hired in software development have been out of the state. They still live out of the state because I can't find them in the state. I can't find them locally. So, and these aren't widget makers that are making minimum wage. These are very high-paid engineering positions, very high-paid. And our young people aren't staying here. Even if they're working in technology or studying technology, they're leaving here because we don't really have a technology highway that they can count on for the next 10 years. We just don't have it. So I was really excited, especially for the York and Adams area, because one is, I'm born and raised here. I was born and raised in York County. My company's been there for 25 years. And I looked at this as a way to get the information out and generate some excitement and get people to understand how important this really is. Also, I was excited to finally have somebody pay attention and put some effort into this. So what we did, where's my little clicker? What we did is we really took, as Kelly said, there was 204, 205 technology action plan respondents. Those are people that said, hey, we are interested, or we might be interested in hearing more about this. And we used that as our base across this entire region. You see, this region's really big. I mean, we covered a lot of areas. And we said, we're not going to stop there. Just because people didn't say they were interested, we know this area. It was one of the reasons why DCED was interested in having us be part of this project, because we know a lot of the organizations here that are potential users of broadband. The larger, commercial companies, the other educational facilities that really didn't sign up to be part of this. And we came up with 500 plus organizations that we thought would be interested in hearing more about this. It was actually 561. And what we did to provide information to everyone that we're working for, which is you folks, we're working for you folks in general, is a real engineering design. Okay, we looked at how can we create something that's actually buildable, not something that's pie in the sky. We looked at all the existing telecommunication poles that are out there. We know they exist. What we did is we created 1,200 aerial miles of buildable fiber that would link all these organizations, 561 of them. What's really interesting is that we know the organization. So we know an organization like Utz or Snyder's or something else like that, and we have the information on their corporate headquarters because we gathered that. What we don't know is we don't know all their buildings that they have connected. We don't know, without tons and tons of research, as Kelly said, we did a lot more than was expected of us for the simple reason that I care. You know, I want to see this happen. Each county has many, many buildings, police departments, fire departments, libraries, you name it, that we don't include in this 561 number. That number is easily 4 times that number, probably more, of organizations, individual buildings that would benefit from this type of connectivity. So that kind of gives you the high level of you know, what we've done from a whole community standpoint. So initially, Adams County wasn't included in the project, but since there was a lot of interest that came out of here, we said, you know what, we're including it. We don't care whether it's in the grant proposal or not. We're going to include it because we think it's important. And what we did for each county is we said, okay, we're going to look at the county and we're going to basically look at all the organizations. And for Adams County, we looked at 25 organizations. And again, it was kind of late in the game. And I'm going to tell you the difference when it's not late in the game. York County was 271 organizations. By far the greatest interest in the technology action plans, and by far the greatest number of organizations that we could look at that said they were interested. So the more interest, the better. This is all about dots. But what's interesting about Adams County is, you know, it's 28 organizations, 28 aerial fiber miles. By far, from a county perspective, the 28 total aerial fiber miles is the least required from any county that we looked at to connect the number of organizations in the county, the least. And when it comes to cost, the lower the number of miles, the lower the cost to connect all the organizations. It's just mathematics. And then what we did is we broke down each county, this is Adams County, into areas of density. Okay, so we said, you know, we break them down in areas of density. And again, I knew when we started this, and then when we added Gettysburg, that when we started, I knew there was going to be 2 areas that were going to be very conducive to do a project like this, and that was going to be York City and Hanover. I knew it. I know the number of organizations there. They're relatively compact, and they wouldn't require that many fiber miles to get to all the organizations. When Gettysburg came into play, I knew that was going to be one of them. That was going to be 3 out of all the ones we looked at: Pottstown, Doylestown, you name it. I knew those 3 were going to be the most cost effective and feasible. Our job was to say, is it feasible? Well, the answer is definitely in York and Adams County, it's feasible to do something like this, that's for sure. And we came up with 15 organizations, 9 aerial fiber miles to connect those organizations. Keeping in mind that this is just the organizations. I'm sure there's other multiple buildings that are involved in the county or the city or, you know, any educational facility or companies that are in this along those pink lines. The more companies, the more businesses and organizations or buildings that are along those pink lines, when I get to the cost, would bring down the overall cost to provide this kind of connectivity to the locations. The only other area that we had really any interest from a technology action plan perspective, or we could really identify, you know, because if we didn't have a technology action plan responded in way down in one section of the county, we have no place to start. We know that right now there's no interest there. So the only other area was up in the northern Adams area, which is, you know, 3 organizations and 6 aerial fiber miles. If we go back, that's flip-flopped. So we have only 3 organizations, 6 aerial fiber miles. Here we have 15 organizations, 9 aerial fiber miles. It becomes a mathematical equation when I get to the cost. And then in the eastern area, we basically have 7 organizations, okay, that have been identified, and we didn't include this section over here because that's included in the Hanover. As Kelly said, broadband doesn't have any boundaries. Okay, I mean, it really doesn't. So it's hard for us, you know, to split a county down there. And again, this is flip-flopped. So if we look at Gettysburg, anytime the number of organizations is greater than the number of fiber miles required, the less it's going to cost to connect those organizations. And then what we did, and again, this is for you folks. So you really, you know, it's a real engineering plan. Go ahead.
To clarify, when you're talking about fiber miles, if the fiber already has to get from point A to point B, is any of that distance counted in the fiber miles that you're referring to?
Can you expand on
For
that?
example, you gotta go from York to get to Gettysburg, maybe? If you're going
The,
through New
well,
Oxford.
the answer is, here's the answer, okay? This is really a generic engineering study with the exception of one thing. The UFD fiber is coming down through here. And what we did is those total fiber miles are to get to the UFD fiber. We asked the current providers to provide us their fiber or their connectivity. It's not documented anywhere. You can't go to any website to find out where existing fiber is from the providers, whether it be Comcast, Verizon, you name it. This is what it is this is the total fiber miles required to connect all those organizations. Eventually it gets back to the UFD fiber, but any provider could build what we have here, what we're showing you, and make one connection point somewhere on that, and it would provide broadband connectivity to all those organizations. Does that answer your question? So again, the interesting thing about York and Adams County is York and Adams County, when we do the math, has the lowest per organization cost to build across the whole thing. So when we talk about new construction, that means the poles exist, they're out there, and you would have to put new fiber on those poles, and there's no current attachments. Overlash means there's already existing telecommunication structure there, and all you're doing is attaching new fiber to that existing cable that's on there. It's much less expensive, there's really no make ready, you just attach the cable. And typically, there's already stuff on these poles. I mean, the reason we have the data is because it's telecommunication GIS data that's public. Okay, and we have it, we know it exists, so we're not going across rivers, we're not going underground anywhere, we're not worried about railroads. These are real paths. And within each technology action plan per organization, we give you 4 more detailed maps that shows you your closest upstream and downstream neighbor and the exact pole that you would actually connect to if you wanted to connect the fiber out there and run fiber, and the other organizations that are within a 7-mile radius of the organization that we've given the tap to. In all, we've done over 800 maps. 800 maps, that's a lot of maps. So when you look at it here, again, Adams and York have the lowest per. So if we did overlash, it's less than $10,000 an organization to construct fiber to everybody that we've identified there. And again, when you add it all up, it's not that much money. We have communities that spend more money on their park system than they would building a glass highway that would connect all those organizations. That's what's really important. The next stuff I'm going to get into, actually Kelly and I were just absolutely shocked. We uncovered something we just did not expect was going to happen. So what we did is, about midway through the project, after we got all the technology action plan, requests, we said, you know what, we want to go back to those people and we want them to tell us what kind of broadband connection they have and how much are they paying. Unfortunately, we did not have that many people respond. We had less than I really wanted, because the greater the sampling we have, the more beneficial it's going to be. But we had enough sampling to uncover something that really it's just absolutely a travesty. So what we did is we took all the respondents from Adams County that gave us their broadband rates. This one's hard to do because it doesn't fit on the screen. And this is what we came up with. If you look over here, it's hard to see, but the lowest response, again, and this is up, this is per meg down and per meg up. The carriers aren't charging you the same thing most of the time. The bigger bandwidth users, yes, they're getting the same price up and down. Some of the schools, some of the bigger organizations that are buying 500 meg, a gig already, they're getting the same price per up and down. Most people are not. You look at the discrepancy. Here, it's less than $5 per meg down. It's over $15 a meg up. Well, the internet's not one way anymore. It's two-way. But really, the lowest person here is paying, and this actually in this county is an anomaly. I don't even know. I know the response that was here. I don't believe that one. This I believe. It's around $4 a meg. And that's a company, that's an organization that I know is buying 600 meg internet. 600 meg internet, they're paying $4 a meg. Here are gig communities and non-gig communities that are published around the United States. Look at this legend. Look at this. This is 7 cents a meg. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, 7 cents a meg. Look at Mexico City. Where are we at? Here. They're less than 70 cents. Mexico City, literally a third world country, and we're paying these kind of rates. So what we said, you know what, we're going to delve in a little bit deeper and see what this is really costing Central PA and the counties. So what we did is we combined all the responses together and calculated out what the average is. This is for all the counties that we analyzed. And we came up with the average download rate that people are paying are $9.37 a meg. The average educational rate, which is the IUs in the schools that have already gone through aggregation projects, courtesy of Deliker, have negotiated down and they're paying $1.72 a meg. Now they're buying a lot. They're buying a lot. But still, remember the previous slide? 7 cents. They're paying $1.72. I mean, the residents in Mexico City are paying 70 cents. And these guys are paying $1.72. In Chattanooga, it's 7 cents. So that kind of gives you the numbers that we're going to go through next and what it really costs in central Pennsylvania for internet. We said, well, using those averages, using the initial piece, the initial what people are paying, what if we took all those Adams County respondents and we said, hey, we're going to give them a gig. How much would it cost them annually? $350,000 one of these companies would pay for a gig per year. And as Kelly said, Chattanooga, it's $870 a year. Even the best guy, that guy's an anomaly, I know it is. Even the best ones here in Adams County, it's $40,000 versus $870. And then we really got creative. We said, okay, well, let's take the 561 organizations and let's use the average. Okay, so not the guy that's paying $350,000 a year, but let's use that $9.72 average, because there's companies in that $9.72 average that are buying 500 meg a gig. Okay, so we know that's a real average. I'm an engineer. I didn't make all this stuff up. This is what everybody told me. If we use the average of 972 and all 561 organizations were buying a gig, they'd be spending $63 million a year on broadband services. And that's realistic. So then we said, well, yeah, I'll tell you what, let's kind of be nice and we'll say, well, we can negotiate and get down the educational rate, maybe. Be $11 million a year. But let's look at what our goal is to get to the Chattanoogas of the world and have that kind of broadband infrastructure. It will be $471,000 a year. It's a huge difference in numbers, but it's real, you know. And I've said in the other meetings, basically, it's broadband discrimination. I mean, we're paying way too much money here for broadband, whether you're a school or whether you're, you know, It was interesting because people say, well, you know, it might be old contracts and yada yada yada. One of my customers just renegotiated their contract. And I didn't know it because I called up one of the guys in my company. I said, how much are they paying for internet? Because I know they just renegotiated the contract. They're over in New York. They're one of the top 3 largest employers in the county. Top 3. It's not hard to figure out. They're paying $30 a meg. $30 a meg. So that 972 is being nice. So hopefully this was informative. Our goal of this whole project is to get the cost of broadband down in this region and to inform you that the infrastructure is very, very important for growth. I didn't have it in this deck. I had it in the York County deck, but one of the things I don't have here, and because we don't have the infrastructure here, we had a hunch that you know, I travel all the time. I drive from York, where my office is, down to Baltimore. And as you know, the traffic from the southern part of this county down to DC is horrible. It is over in York. And part of the survey that we did is we said, how many people telecommute, which is how many people can work from home? Doylestown, 77% said they work from home. You know the lowest two counties? Lowest two areas? York and Adams. The lowest, absolute lowest. And so we did special surveys for York and Adams, Southern. This was, totally blind. We just called people. 26% of those surveyed said they go to DC or Baltimore every single day. And they go there because the infrastructure is not here. And we know that the population of Southern York and Adams County is around 100,000 when you combine it. So we said, okay, we're going to be nice. We have 26%. We're going to say the average is a family of 4 for household, numbers. So we divide out that, 100,000. It comes out to about 25,000 people. Take 26% of that. Tells you how many people leave York and Adams County every day and go south, because we don't have the infrastructure here. And they told us they either can't, they're not allowed to commute. They're not allowed to telecommute because of security, or they're not allowed, they can't commute because they don't have the broadband speeds. They told us that. So it's really important that, we get some excitement and, this project keeps moving forward. And I'll turn it back over to Kelly.
John, thanks so much, and to your whole team, thanks so much. Many emails back and forth at 1 and 2 in the morning to get the project done. And I hope you can appreciate the engineering work that went in. When you see your organization, it'll look like, there's just a couple maps. But there was a lot of hours that went into getting those maps delineated, to find your neighbors, so that we can put together some of the project engineering that rolls up into the RFP. All the different broadband providers are also looking at maps like that to put together the solutions that they're going to propose by April 29th. So we're looking forward to coming back with the RFP results. How did we get here? Lori and Marty decided one day to jump in the car and ride to Hanover. Somehow they heard about our project and they drove over, and after the meeting, Commissioner Qualley said, "We want that. Whatever you're doing in Hanover, I just want it in my county." So through the aggregation project in 5 counties, we aggregated over to 6. That's why we're here today. We hope all the counties in Pennsylvania pay attention to what's going on. And what Commissioner Qualley did for Adams County, we hope spreads out to other counties. These rates, they're not make-believe. Those are real dollars going out the door to pay for broadband. What is happening in other areas of the country, they're not paying as much. Now in Lancaster County, we went through this whole pitch, and a fellow came up afterwards and said, if I just got my broadband down to $10,000 a year, I'd hire 1 or 2 more employees. That's how big the savings would be for my organization. Now, he wasn't in the survey. He just showed up. He was actually running for public office and was looking for meetings to attend so he could shake hands. He said, after Tuesday, win or lose, I want you to come and talk to our company. And then I got a random message last night from a fraternity brother. I heard you were talking to my boss about broadband and that we might be able to hire 1 or 2 more people if you get that broadband that you're talking about. How can we do this? How can we get that? So I haven't talked to him in 20 years, so I'm looking forward to a conversation with him. We did the surveys. We did technology action plans. We asked every company, what are your job postings? We went out on the internet. We went on LinkedIn. We went on all the different job sites. More than 600 job openings in 6 counties, from Bucks to Adams. 600 job openings, and there's people looking for work. So we're going to get that work out. We're going to work with the commissioners to get the job postings in Adams County out. And we're trying to encourage organizations to use job sites like Pennsylvania Career Link to get the information out through existing channels. So John mentioned something earlier that just always strikes a bell when we talk about this project. I wasn't involved in the project when the grant was approved. I actually wasn't brought into the project till October 26th in a very interesting meeting that John brought me into. But I've been working in this side of it for 12 years, maybe really 16 years when I was in public life. And back then, in my area, we didn't have cell phone coverage. Does anyone remember cell phone calls dropping? And knowing exactly the point where you were driving along a road and the call was going to drop? And you used to say something like, hold on a second, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Did anybody ever say that in this room?
Still do.
Still do? All right. Well, we need to talk to you guys. But I drive around my legislative district, and we had 30% cell coverage in my district. And I said, I'm going to form the Pocono Telecommunications Task Force. I had no idea what would happen the first time. Well, we had 40 people show up. And we had a bunch of providers in the room, and we put together these little strategies, and we went from 30% to 90% coverage in a 4-year period. I had national parks in my district. And when we were done, we had 6 cell towers on federal property. Not for any reasons that we wanted, but they also recognized the big thing with cell towers is the 911 calls, the emergency calls. Well, and that park was so vast, 90,000 acres, that they were worried about public safety. Most of those calls are done by cell phones. So extraordinarily, through a whole bunch of different things and moving parks, we got cell towers built. Now, fast forward, the technology's evolved. Now cell phones do so many more things than just make calls. Am I right? Do you use your phone for more than making calls now? So infrastructure for this needs to constantly be refreshed. And the one thing we've been trying to bang the drum on is that every 18 months, this technology needs to be refreshed. That's Moore's Law. It applies to the tech industry, to microchips. It applies to broadband now. Every 18 months. So that's why we're so excited here. You have Adams County Connect. You guys have already been meeting in Adams County. You already recognize that this change is happening, and you're trying to put strategies together to address it. We want to come back in May. We're going to come back in June. We're going to come back in July. We're going to explain the RFP results. We're going to help put together some strategies for the county. We're going to listen. We're going to try and help fill the open jobs. We're going to give UFD a chance to give updates as they cross through Pennsylvania and light up their fiber. But we really encourage you to keep meeting, to keep figuring out the best ways, the best strategies to help get cell tower coverage, fiber coverage, and build that glass highway. PennDOT builds all the highways in the state. Township supervisors work on the local roads, but what we are talking about today is glass highways. That's how they're getting those prices. That's how we got to bring this down all across Pennsylvania, bring that cost down so that our companies can compete on a level playing field. Southern York and Southern Adams. Just like where I'm from in Monroe, where the commuters were going to New York, your commuters are going down to Baltimore and Washington, D.C., Frederick, Maryland, and every morning they leave and every night they come back, hopefully safely. John mentioned 77% of the people in Bucks County can work from home. 20% in Adams County. I think 20.8% say that they can telecommute. Now, when you're in the security industry, in the cybersecurity industry, you need lots of fiber because you need to enter into a VPN, a virtual private network. That's cyber kind of talk for security, that you're on a secure network. And in work from home, most large organizations require that. They don't want their broadband and their data centers to be hacked. So that is a requirement. That's why it's very hard in York and Adams County for people to telecommute, because the speeds aren't fast enough. You'd be sitting there all day waiting for a file to download. That's why gigabit speeds are so important for Adams County. What happens? Does anybody ever remember Michael Jordan? Does everybody know who I'm talking about? I know Jim's been wearing his sneakers for years, right, Jim? So the Michael Jordan tax started in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania wanted to tax Michael Jordan because he was making so much money and he played games in Philadelphia. So they did a lawsuit and it all rolled up all the way to the Supreme Court, and it's called the Michael Jordan tax. And so they divide all the schedule down, 82 games, by everybody's salary on the whole team, and then they divide it in, and each town now, each city with an NBA franchise gets a portion of the earnings. Great windfall for Philadelphia that year. I think they had a pretty bad season that year. They didn't invest it back into the team, if I recall. I don't think they have in a long time. But that's the Michael Jordan tax. Now, why is that important in a broadband discussion? Because all those people, the men and women that commute down south, where are they paying their local tax? Not here. They're paying it in Baltimore. They're paying it in Frederick. They're paying it in DC. Up north, they're paying it in New Jersey and New York. They aren't paying it in Pennsylvania. One great economic strategy for Adams County and York County is to get people working at home. That's where they're going to pay the local tax then. That's 1% in some townships, right? Is it 1% around here? Or does nobody charge it? This is the low tax area of the state. Was it? 1%. That's all being collected in Baltimore. And in Frederick, am I right? Am I talking a different language? EIT, the earned income tax. That's all being paid out of the state. Why do I know? Because millions of it was outside of the school property tax debate in the Poconos. So that's one idea to think about of getting people to work from home, to bring them home. And then they also go out to lunch, and they're also able to spend money in the county instead of spending it outside of the county. So there's a couple other ripple effects on getting people to work from home. We're very pleased to talk with you afterwards about your technology action plan. Bernadette has all the plans. Jim, did I forget anything?
I think you're spot on.
Cliff, thanks so much. Cliff's been making us look great all around our different meetings. So we appreciate the opportunity. You can actually watch this again if you want to hear my monotone voice and go to bed tonight. That would be great. Thanks so much for coming out. We look forward to coming back in May. Thank you so much.